Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second day of induction and orientation ceremony for the PGP batch 13. Today's morning sessions will be leadership talk from various industry experts who will be joining us for the webinar talk. We welcome our esteemed guests and faculties who have joined us for today's morning session. The topic for today's discussion will be development and progress in the VUCA world.
VUCA, short for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. The acronym was first used in the army, but now widely used in businesses and leadership theories. Today's fast-growing and ever-changing world is a perfect example of VUCA world, and we can relate how businesses deal with the VUCA world. For thriving and growing in this world, every business needs to change and modify with the changing behavior and incorporate continuous innovations in the organization. Rapid innovation is an important tool to maintain leadership in a volatile environment. VUCA world examples have shown how challengers within an organization must be developed and encouraged to create disruptive services and products that can replace existing ones. Being on the positive side of the discussion, one can explain VUCA as vision, understanding, clarity, adaptability, and these are the 4 tools needed for setting a foot in the VUCA world.
So our speakers for the session will talk on the topic with their own perspective for 20 to 30 minutes, followed by the Q&A. So firstly, I would like to request our Honorable Professor Kaustup Ghosh to welcome our guests and deliver the welcome speech. Please, sir.
Very good morning to all of you, and I welcome all of you again on the second day of the PGP induction and orientation program. Yesterday we had different rounds of discussion, specifically focusing on the academic environment, learning ambience, IIM culture, practices, so on and so forth. The specific objective of the second day of the program is to have practitioner perspective. And for that, we have 2 panels, one in forenoon, one in afternoon. The forenoon panel consists of senior practitioners and executives from industry. They will bring their perspective on VUCA world, particularly in the last 2 years, because of the impact of COVID pandemic, and maybe recently following the Ukraine-Russia war, we have a lot together on different fronts. So we will look forward to them, and I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting session. And please participate, because our students participate and ask questions a lot, and that will really make the session interesting. In the afternoon panel, we have people from retired high command from Indian Armed Forces, as well as from government departments and ministries. So that will give you a different perspective how the crisis situation like pandemic, or for that matter, any other significant change in the business environment has impacted the way we work. So I really convey our sincere gratitude and thanks to all our esteemed panelists for sparing their valuable time on this weekend and being here with us. We are really grateful to all of you, and I'm sure we are going to have a great session. Please openly participate, ask your doubts and queries, and wish you all the best. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. So let us start with the introduction of our first panelist today. To begin with, we have with us our first business expert, Mr. Sandeep Girotra, President and Chief HR Officer, DCM Shriram. Mr. Sandeep Girotra holds the position of Co-President and Chief Human Resource Officer at DCM Shriram Limited and Head Human Resources for Convergence India Services Private Limited. Sir has received his graduate degree from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. Sir is also on the board of Global Cloud Exchange Limited, United Kingdom. In the past, Sir held the position of Senior Vice President and Head Global Human Resource at Ranbaxy Laboratories Limited. We are truly honored to have you here with us, sir. Now, I would kindly request Mr. Girotra to deliver the talk.
All right, I need to unmute myself. Okay, are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, okay. Hey, first of all, my apologies. I could not be there in person with all of you there today. Unfortunately, I'm one of those people who took, one of those many people who took COVID lightly and thought maybe it's gone away. And I can see a lot of people sitting here without mask as well here, which is not a very good sign. And I paid the price for it. I was traveling to Mumbai for an award ceremony, and possibly I think that's where I contracted COVID. And I can tell you it's still around, very much around us, and it's not gone anywhere. So be safe. Stay safe, not only for yourself, but also for your family members and friends around you. So I think that'll be great. All right. Thanks a lot for this great introduction. A little bit about myself. This is my second coming to IIM Rohtak. I think I came there last when I was with Ranbaxy, and that was in 2014 or something, and I'm so pleased to be here back again, to be invited back to talk to you, to speak to all of you, and especially to the young folks who have joined. And I'm sure, those people that I addressed 8 years ago have gone on to achieve greater heights by now. And I think this batch, I welcome them and also wish them all the very best for the future. All right. So I think the topic of discussion today is pretty apt. And I guess, that discussion, that topic has been there in minds of people for a long, long period of time. VUCA world, this whole term got coined as VUCA. I think about 5-7 years ago, kind of it gathered steam about 5-7 years ago. And God willing, what has happened is COVID has just accelerated this whole piece. So I think we are living in a world, in an era wherein things are moving and things are changing, which we all know. Things have always changed. It's not that they haven't. I think the difference has just been that the speed of the change has accelerated. Now, go back, and many of you probably were not even born at that time, but I'm talking about, maybe you were, I mean, there's this 9/11 happened. So we thought maybe that is one moment which has kind of changed the whole world. Or before 9/11, I thought maybe there was Asian crisis. So Asian crisis happened around 94, 5, something like that, So we thought maybe that was the worst thing that could have happened to mankind. And I'm not going beyond, beyond that, First World War and Second World Wars. But I think Asian crisis happened, and that was quite bad. And then 9/11 happened, and then we thought maybe, nothing could surpass 9/11. And that was probably the worst thing that could have happened to us. And we were trying to gather steam to get out of that entire piece. And then a series of incidents happened. We had the financial crisis that happened in 2007-8. And then in 2011, we had, in between, there was this 2004 tsunami also that happened in Thailand and Indonesia. And then 2011, again, there was this earthquake at Japan. And Japan is or was the second largest economy that was shut down for continuous period of months. So that itself had a very large and long impact on the business. And then this SARS happened, and before that, I think what was the other another variant of COVID that came earlier. That happened. And then finally, when we thought maybe we were coming out of all that stuff and business was looking well, then 2020, we had COVID, or 2019, and we started having COVID now. And this has turned out to be as bad as anything else that we would have seen ever in our lives. Now, why am I telling you all this? A reason why I'm telling you all this is that this is not the last time or the first time that you would have seen something like this. And I'm, God forbid, we should not have anything like COVID, not losing people's life. People's money is still okay, but not lives. But I don't think it's going to be the last time that we will see something like this. And our beloved world leaders have proven us right. Now we have the Ukraine-Russia war happening amidst all this. And before, while the COVID was happening, we had China, India aggression, and all kind of stuff. So human nature is such that we will continue to find problems to run after us. When one gets over, I think we get bored. We want to move towards another one. And if there's no other problem that is coming our way, we create one for ourselves. We manufacture it. So I think some of these problems are manufactured by all of us, and we'll have to deal with them, and not only us but generations to come. So if that is the background, and things are never going to settle down, it's always going to be like this. Let's accept the fact that our lives is always going to be, from now onwards, or maybe last 15, 20 years onwards, is going to be on a roller coaster. You get off one and you get onto the other one. And if that's how the life is going to be, I think we got to be jolly well prepared for that. Does that make sense as a context? All right. Unfortunately, I'm doing this on Zoom, so I don't know, if I'm being appreciated or not, but or people are understanding it or not. But I'll just keep continuing. This is also VUCA world. This is very different. Now, how do we manage this? How do we tackle this? Because if this is what it is, you'll puke at me and say, look, we all know this, buddy. This is not something that you're telling us for the first time. We have heard about this, not only you, but there are other leaders who have come and talked about it, and we all know. So what do we do about this? What is that we need to be doing to prepare? And I'm not going to be going into some leadership, behavioral science, models here. That's not my forte, and I'm not competent to do that. What all I can do is tell you exactly what I would tell my 17-year-old son, who's also preparing for his grade 12 and wanting to get into, not right now, but at some point in time, prestigious schools like, IIM Rohtak. So what would I tell him? And this is what I would tell him. And I told this to the management trainees that we just hired in DC and Shriram, and a couple of them were from, I think, IIM Sirmaur or IIM Rohtak, So I shared the same thing to those guys. Now, is this the entire batch, the new batch, which is sitting at the back, with their coats on? Just raise your hands if you are. All right, I think that's a large batch, man. That's yeah, good, fantastic. Okay, so I don't have any presentation, nor do I want to bore you guys with any presentation. I think I've been given about 30 minutes. I don't think I'm going to take 30 minutes. I will probably take about 15 out of that. And out of those 15, I've already consumed 7. And then I'll leave it for any question that you may have. So I have only 5 points to talk. Point number 1 is going to be learn to commit mistakes. Now, let me pause for a minute over here and let you guys absorb, because this is something that you probably would not have heard, neither from your parents nor from your professors or your school or college teachers earlier. Because committing a mistake means, you remember when The kids would come back home and say, look, Papa, I knew everything, but, this silly mistake, I lost 5 marks. And I would bang my head against the wall every time and pull my hair and say, why do we have to commit silly mistakes all the times? And conveniently kids would tell, I'm sure you would have told your parents as well. But now you're entering a world wherein it is important for you to commit mistakes. Now, mind you, don't commit the same mistake again and again, because then you're going to be called as fool. Then you would be a fool. But people who commit mistakes are the ones who are trying. And I'm sure you would have heard about this earlier. In VUCA world, everybody, the leaders understand that for one to thrive and do well, you'll have to innovate, you'll have to change things. And when you're innovating and changing things, you're bound to commit mistakes, and there's nothing wrong in it. And if leaders believe that there's anything wrong in it, then they're not the right leaders to lead in this VUCA world. So I can assure you that there'll be change of those leaders that will happen over a period of time, but don't change yourself. So try and do new things. And in the process, if you fail, let it be. Does that make sense? All right. The second piece which is related to this is success and failures are two possible outcomes of an activity. There's an activity. We all want to be successful. Nobody wants to fail. Having said that, it is a 50-50 probability that you may fail and succeed or succeed. So don't shy away from the fact that there could be a possibility. 50-50 is high if you prepare well. You're basically, by preparing and organizing all that, you're reducing the probability of failure and increasing the probability of success. Try doing that, but let us accept the fact that you will never be able to remove possibility of failure and move to 0%. It will never happen. And don't even strive for it. Otherwise, you'll go crazy. You'll start taking medicines. You'll have what is that called? OCD. Because you'll be striving for perfection, which is never going to be existing. Perfection never exists in life. So please accept failures and move forward and learn from them. The third piece that I would talk about, and I'm sure by now you would have understood that I'm a very negative guy. I only talk about negative things and I don't talk about positive, but I think that's where the biggest learnings come in life. The third piece is going to be equally important. You should learn to take risks. People who do not take risks are the ones who are going to be left behind. So ensure that you're taking risks. Ensure that you're trying new stuff. And if you believe that you landed up in a company which is not allowing you to take risks, leave that company immediately, because that's not an organization that you want to be in. Think about the kind of unicorns that we have these days, the number of people who are, who've grown, sub 30 years of age and they are billionaires. They would not have done it by the normal sense of working, So they took risks. I wish I had the gut and the ability to take risk at this age. I'm 51. I don't, unfortunately, I've passed that age and stage now. Maybe there's no age or stage, but, it's just that mental state that I am in. I probably would have passed that, but I wish nobody else does that, So please keep taking risk as much as you can. But again, to the point that, don't make a fool of yourself. The other one is, it is not important the amount of change that you can bring. So people would say, look, in VUCA world, you got to change, you got to bring about change, try new things, like I also mentioned earlier, well, that is important, but that's not that important. What is important is your ability to change yourself and adapt to the world which is changing outside of your control. Because, in our control, whatever that we have, we can change, and, stuff that is there in our hand, we'll be able to change. But the fact is that we are dealing today with so many external forces outside, whether it is COVID, Russia war, Dhimkana, Phalana, which is beyond our control. And that is where the real challenge of a leader comes in. You are dealing with something which is unknown, and knowing the unknown and trying to change yourself and adapt yourself to that is going to be extremely important. So, just keep that in mind, that you should always be ready. Forget about, the change that you want to bring. Just first of all, spend a lot of time and see you have the flexibility and adaptability to change according to what is happening beyond your control, and not fix it with ideas. And the last one, last principle that I would say is, we all love to be independent. I'm sure you just guys are coming out of college. You're going to be staying in the hostel and enjoying yourself. By the way, when I started in TIS in 1992. I did not see the class, so we used to calculate the days of attendance, and this is not for the first row professors to hear this. This is for the backbenchers. So in Bombay, it used to rain quite a bit. When I joined the business school, it used to rain, and I'm a Delhi guy. Moved from Delhi to Bombay, and I went there and started raining. And I said, "Chalo, ye to bahut badhiya hai." And we have field work also, so nothing is going to happen now. Because in Delhi, I remember in school days, when it used rain in the morning, we would start looking at our mother and say, "Okay, aaj to chutti hai iska matlab." So in Bombay also, we thought it's the same thing. So we never got tucked into the bedsheet and kept sleeping. And then the warden came and woke us up and said, "Look, buddy, juta pehno, rubber ka juta pehno aur nikal jao." Because in Bombay, nothing is going to stop. So have fun, enjoy yourself, be independent, but just ensure that there are some others who are keeping a watch on you. Now, the point that I'm trying to make here is being independent is good, and also self-dependent is fine. But this world is always going to be interdependent. So please learn from each other while you're there in this course, in this program. Work with the industry. I think that's going to be one of the biggest learnings that you will get, is working with the industry. Speak to your peers, and also, within different faculties that you have, so finance and marketing and HR, keep learning from each other, because I can tell you that after you graduate, and maybe in the first 4 or 5 years, it may not be, but after 5 years of your professional life, all the functions converge. They all come together. I am a CHRO today and cannot just go back and tell the managing directors that I cannot understand numbers. I cannot read balance sheet. So I can only tell you what is good from a HR standpoint, and that's not going to work. So I can tell you this all converges. So learn as much as you can. Don't continue to sit in the area where you're feeling comfortable with. You should develop your proficiency and your competence in that area. But at the same time, take this opportunity of learning a couple of other skills, because that's going to be extremely important. Also, if you can learn a couple of other languages while you're here, while in India, we have beautiful 25, 27 different kind of languages. Learn from each other. If you can learn a couple of foreign languages, I think that would be even better, apart from English and Hindi and, one of your vernacular local languages, if you can also learn maybe a Chinese, or I don't know whether the course permits you to do that, no, Chinese, Mandarin, or Spanish, I think that would be fantastic. So pick up something which is different. Make your profile different from others, which stands out, and not run of the mill. Because I can tell you, as a corporate hirer that I'm going to be coming in, or my team would be coming in, let's say after 2 years, we're going to be looking at people who stand out in a different way, not only academically. Academics, so you have proven yourself, I mean, I'm sure you may have done well, but we're going to be looking at people who are a little different, either in their thinking or their approach or the skills that they have acquired. So that's all what I have to say. There's nothing much more that I have to give Gyan on a Saturday morning. And I wish I could be there in person myself. But I open it up now for any questions that anybody may have. Yeah. And you can call me Sandeep, I think the sir business has to really go off now.
Good morning, sir. My name is Mohit Jain.
Sure,
I have a
good.
question for you. How can the volatility of the challenge we face be used to our advantage? So how can we leverage on the volatilities? So just basically.
So if I hear your question, you're saying the volatility that we are facing, how do we change that to our advantage, convert that to our advantage?
Yes, sir.
I think wonderful question, that because the change is always going to be there. I think it's a question of, who adapts to it will make the most or will get the most benefit out of it. As I mentioned earlier, adaptability to the change is going to be important. And by the way, Indians have proven time and again that they are best at adapting. If you go back to our history, and I'm not making any political comment here, because these days a politically charged environment. But if you look at it, our history of, 1500 years, with so many changes that we have seen in us, Indians have adapted themselves to it extremely well. So we do that. I lived in Singapore till last year. I was there in Singapore, before that in Japan, Korea. I think the number of senior leaders that are there in Singapore from India are unparalleled, to any other nationality. Now, why am I telling you that? Is that if you are able to accept there is a change, there is a adversity, and start changing and adapting yourself towards that, rather than running away from it. Because I know some of the countries kind of hide behind it and say, look, this is happening and this is not good and all that stuff. Indians don't do that. So I'm very proud of that fact that it's in our DNA. So if we continue to do that, sorry guys, if we continue to do that, I think we'll be there and use adversity to our advantage, which we have always done in the past. All right, is that it?
So there is one more question from one student.
Okay.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. My name is Sabri Avasti, and while speaking, you were talking about change and how we should be adaptable to change. So I want to question, is there any way we can adapt our perspective to view the change and the complexities of change as an asset instead of being a liability to us?
That's a real IIM question. पहले तो समझना पड़ेगा question को. Change is inevitable, and I'm sure you would have heard about this. Now the speed of change is also becoming inevitable. The speed has become faster, quicker. So the speed is becoming. So as I mentioned earlier, adapting to the change, we will adapt. Humans have always adapted. If you go into the human evolution, we have adapted from being, from monkeys to, where we are today. So ho jata hai wo over a period of time. The question is going to be time that you want to take to make that change happen. And that's going to be important. People who anticipate, I think the anticipation piece is going to be important. Your sixth sense, your ability to understand, your ability to read, your ability to predict, analyze. I think those are the important pieces for you. So use artificial intelligence, use a lot of analytics, use a lot of decision science to predict what may happen in the future and start planning for it today. Because By the time you are in it, it's like tsunami. By the time you see it, it's going to be too late for you to react. So my suggestion to anybody who's wanting to change with the changing times, don't wait for the change to become apparent to you. Start preparing it for today, Start anticipating it. And for anticipation, you need thinking. Use your brain, use brains of people around you, use artificial intelligence, use, as I mentioned, all the other products that are available to get yourself ahead of the curve. See what trends have shown us in the last 20 years, 25 years, and multiply those trends by a X factor of speed. So if a trend has, if financial crisis, if you look at it, financial crisis or every finance downturn has a cycle. And now we can always go back and look at the finance downturn and say, every 7 years there's a downturn that happens, so we'll plan accordingly. Now you factor in the other complexities and other things to it, which is COVID and Ukraine war and, ABC, and then compress it and make it to 2 to 3 years and start predicting that model. I think that is the important bit. That is where the human mind will act quickly, and you'll be able to sustain. Forget about, moving ahead. You'll be able to sustain. Otherwise, you'll be drowned.
Thank you, sir. So due to time constraints, we will not be able to take more questions. So thank you, Mr. Sandeep, for the insightful talk and valuable inputs. Your perspective will definitely help our future managers understand the business environment better and motivate them to work on themselves for the forthcoming journey. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks a lot, guys, and wish you all the very best once again. I hope to see you at some point in time. Thank you.
We also have between us the next speaker for the session, Mr. Shrikant Srinivasan, AVP and Head, Retail and Consumer Goods, Wipro Limited. Sir is currently working as the AVP and Head in Retail and Consumer Good divisions of Wipro. Sir has also worked as the Global Head, Retail and CPG Business in Tech Mahindra. Sir is a certified global business leader with over 23 years of professional experience in retail and consumer goods, consumer appliances, and related industry domains. The major focus of Sir has always been on helping retail and consumer goods companies achieve their priorities and help improve consumer experience. We are truly honored to have you here with us, sir. Now I would kindly request Mr. Srinivasan to deliver his address to the students.
Good morning. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So sir makes me look like I'm a retired professor from a college, though I'm addressing a college group here. So let's just keep it informal. Call me Shrikant. Srinivasan is my dad, so it's good if you call me by my first name. Thank you very much. Good. I was listening in previous few minutes to Sandeep, and I'm trying not to repeat what he said, but he made a lot of very good points. I would like to keep this interactive. I know this is a large group sitting in one place, so we may have some logistic challenges with everyone speaking at the same time. But it is always a dialogue. It is never a monologue of what one person has to say and the others are listening. I always believe that if you exchange ideas, you get an even better idea coming out of the discussion. So I would very much want to make this a two-way dialogue more than a one-way monologue. Yeah. So do you want to set the context? Is it Guneet who was talking, or anybody else on what you are looking for from this session? I know the big topic is VUCA, but is there something else or something that you want me to specifically start addressing? We could just open up with Q&A if that's okay with you. So VUCA has been around for a while. The name came in recently, but the situation has been around ever since human beings walked on this earth. So we are not clairvoyant. We are not astrologers to predict what is happening in the future. We cannot control the situation as an individual. So all the volatility, all the complexity, uncertainty that has always been there as a part of our life. But the funny thing that we often end up assuming is that this is all happening outside, this is all happening out in the world. And somehow when you Google VUCA, the word world comes right next to VUCA, right? VUCA world. And I started thinking it's not really the world, right? It's you, it's the people who are actually creating all this confusion, creating all these uncertainties, complexities. You take any situation, be it COVID, be it stock market, be it economic downturn, like what Sandeep was talking about. These are all caused by people, and these are all caused by people who are reacting in different ways, isn't it? And when people do that, it causes a lot of complexities, it causes a lot of downturns, causes a lot of economic, health, social issues that we need to worry with. And then it calls upon the response from people on how they are going to respond to that crisis or respond to that VUCA situation. So more than how and why this is happening, I think we should all start thinking about what I should do or what we should do as a group. And now you are all collected here as a group. You are all going to go through this 2-year course in IIM. And the fact that you are all together gives you a chance to do something together rather than break off as an individual after 2 years. How can you all come together and be a unified force in fighting this VUCA? So my very simple message here, and I will open for questions after this, is how do you train yourself? How do you adapt to this? How do you make sure that VUCA does not happen? It's not that we have just become comfortable with VUCA and we just assume that it's going to happen and I am responding to that situation. Rather, how do you make sure this does not happen? How do you make sure things are more predictable, more simpler in nature, easy to understand, and more controllable as an outcome? That is where you will get the maximum productivity out of the individual and out of the society. So we will talk about what it takes for an individual to do that, what it takes for a group to do that, and what it takes as a country, as an economy, as a collection of many things to be responsive to this ever-changing world that is not going to stop. It is going to change, but the effect of the change has to be negotiated and mitigated. Yeah. So I think Sandeep talked about the adaptability, right? And what is really adaptability? Do we just accept the situation and say that this is my destiny, that this is what will happen and I will live with it? Or do I do something to, one, mitigate that, and second, to make sure it does not happen again? If you take COVID situation, for example, we have all been through a total change in lifestyle. People would be no one would have imagined 2 years ago that a conference of this nature could be held, but we are doing this a day in and day out. I was expecting some 200 people to have logged in onto this platform, but I'm glad to see you have all assembled in one place. But things are changing. Our lifestyle has changed. The way the economy is functioning is changed. The way the retail market, the stores, the whole business of supply and demand has changed. So we have all adapted to this. And when we have done this and we have successfully created a new way of life, how can we make sure that this does not disrupt again due to any other thing that is coming? And we cannot predict how things will change, but we can predict how, or we can train ourselves on how we can react to that change. Yeah. So the most important thing is, are you ready to change? Are you flexible enough to change? We grow up learning certain things. We study in school, we study in colleges, and it makes our mindset, it makes our thinking very rigid. Are we able to accept new ideas? Are we able to accept new situations and say that, hey, this can also happen, and what do I do when this happens, right? And that is where everything starts. It is because people are inflexible and cannot change their habits and change their preferences very quickly, is when the situation assumes the worst form. Why was COVID such a bad time? If you ask me, it's not about the virus, it's not about the health related concern, but the real impact of COVID is because people's behavior, consumer behavior changed overnight. Suddenly people stopped going to shops. Suddenly people changed their buying preferences. Suddenly people change their habits in the way they eat or drink or live their lifestyles. It all happened overnight. If it happens over a period of time, nobody really cares because it absorbs the shock. But since it happened overnight, you remember how it was in March 2020, when the roads were empty, shops were empty, businesses didn't know how to operate, nobody had e-commerce going. So this just came as a surprise to everyone, and nobody was really ready to adapt to the new way of working, and also make sure that when next time something like this happens, how am I prepared to do that? So a lot of focus was put on, okay, how do I first respond to this situation? And then how do I make sure that this situation, if it comes again beyond my control, how am I not caught up in these situations, right? So I can give you a great example of what happens in the retail world with a lot of these stores that closed up. In US, if you see a lot of non-essential products, stores that sell non-essential products like, say, clothing or fashion or jewelry and things like that, which people can live without for a while, they just went bankrupt. Nobody was visiting the stores. They didn't know what to do, and some companies just closed shop. They didn't know how to react. But then the thought emerged that people still need all these things, and the fact that they will come back at some point, or they would still want access to these things, is driving how I react to it, how I as a company will react to it. That's when they started thinking about e-commerce, creating online presence, starting door delivery. In India, you are all seeing, India is one of the leaders in what we call as D2C, direct to customer, where all these Swiggies and your big baskets and Amazons are doing fantastic home deliveries. And this is all in response to how the situation changed in the future. Now, if a situation like this comes again, we are probably set. We think that, we have created an ecosystem, created a society that will still function, because the essentials are not getting impacted, and I am still getting my fruits and vegetables and groceries, and I'm able to live my life with minor changes in my lifestyle. The only big change that I endured was working in home office, and now I'm so comfortable that I don't feel like going back to office. But that is an acceptable norm now, and nobody's complaining that I'm not going to office. So you just adapt to the situations. You have virtual tea or coffee meets. You meet friends online, and the whole concept of meeting in person has changed. People are making sales pitches online. We have won deals where we have not physically met even a single customer in our life. We have done all our meetings through WebEx and Teams and Zoom meetings, and things work. People are accepting that as a norm, and they're saying, okay, let us do the business this way. So flexibility, adaptability, and also the fact that how do I not make this, or how do I prevent this from happening again? I think those are the important lessons that came out of this entire VUCA crisis. This is just one VUCA crisis. There are also good VUCA crises, right? Something like the advent of cell phone. We don't see it that way, but the advent of smartphone was a big VUCA thing, because people's habit had to change on how they use the smartphone. Nowadays, you give a smartphone to a kid, 2-year-old kid, and the kid knows how to browse through it and how to navigate through apps and things like that. So the adaptation of all these big technological changes, economic changes, environmental changes, I think we will adapt. The question is how quickly we adapt and how effectively adapt, and how do we make sure that the next time it happens, we are not wasting time, and we are not losing lives before we as a community, as a species, adapt to it. So I'll stop there. I think I've repeated a lot of points that Sandeep might have told in his introductory speech, but this is basically the mantra. Flexibility, adaptability, and being prepared for future is the only mantra that comes out of this. I'm happy to take questions if you have any on any of these areas. How many of you think? Just show me a hand if you think about with your answer yes or no. How many of you think that VUCA is a negative phenomenon? Okay, I'll have to zoom the screen a bit to see if I can see all of you. Are there any hands up? I don't see. No? How many of you, do you think VUCA is positive or negative? How many think it is a positive phenomenon? I see one hand. I see a couple of hands. Okay, maybe 15, 20 hands, 50 hands. Okay. Do the rest think that VUCA is a negative phenomenon?
Sir, actually, almost all the students raised hands.
For which point? Positive or negative?
Point.
Sorry?
Positive point.
Positive. Okay, very good. So you are all thinking on a very opportunistic line of thought here. So VUCA is absolutely positive, and many things that happened during last 2 years have helped people grow their business. If you see online payments, right, the companies like say Paytm or PhonePe or UPI, the kind of business they have done, the kind of transactions they have handled, it wouldn't have been possible without this COVID happening. The kind of service and delivery infrastructure that we have set up in India, people coming to your home for practically everything that you need, right from today morning. Incidentally, I was having tea, and my wife just told me that she got a message from Zepto asking her if she would want to enjoy biscuits with tea. And I am amazed as well as shocked, because one, how does it know that I'm having tea at that particular time? How does it know that I am out of biscuits? Because I was really out of biscuits. And third is they are willing to deliver it to me. So imagine the amount of, I know they have probably access to my data and all those things. So they are probably taking a guess that I might want biscuits with my tea because I regularly buy biscuits. But then, they put all these things together and they are increasing their service delivery. Was this available 3 years ago? No, it wasn't. But these things have evolved, these things have taken shape, and these things are going to last for a lifetime, because this is a new model of living that we have created that is going to be around for many, many years to come. Yeah. So good that you all see it as a positive thing, because many new things come out of it. Of course, the unfortunate incidents of health-related illness and mortality, all those things happen, but they happen in any situation, and it is for individuals and the community to stay safe and stay away from those kind of things. Yeah. Any questions?
Hello, Mr. Shrikant. I'm Shoaib, and my question is, how can I loosen my requirement for predictability so that ambiguity does not matter?
Okay, good. You're using all the keywords here. So I'm happy you asked that question. So loosen your predictability. The only answer is to be open for options. Okay. Now, the question is, it is easy to say that be flexible and consider all possibilities, but how do you actually do that? Has the common man been able to consider and be flexible at all times? Some people had a really tough time because they couldn't change their lifestyle. But some people adapted really quickly because they were ready to accept the new norms and go with that, right? So the answer to your question is, how do you lose that? Is one, you cannot predict the future, and if somebody says I can predict the future, they are probably spinning a yarn there. Nobody can do that. Nobody knows how things will work in the future. That's why we have VUCA. If everyone were able to predict and control the situation, there would be no VUCA. But VUCA is there, and that is why the response of VUCA becomes important. The only thing that you and I can do is be ready to accept options, be ready to accept different thought process, which will be around and which will take shape. If you are not bringing it in, somebody else will bring it in and it will take shape, and ready to accept that and adopt that. Right. And that is the only way to control the situation and make it as a process. Don't make it as a one-off thing, make it as a process so that it is long lasting and it can serve you for a long time. Another thing, so what they don't tell you is they tell you to become, or everybody tells you to be flexible, but how to be flexible, right? How do you train yourself today to be flexible so that you can attack or you can counter anything that happens tomorrow? Okay, the practice or the training for that starts right now, and the training is very simple. Start with doing something or participating in something that you have not done before. It could be an idea, it could be a thought process, it could be a discussion. It could be a lifestyle change. If you have not done any say exercise or fitness related things, start that and start doing it today. Start like Sandeep said, learn a new language. These are all things that you attempt to do outside your comfort zone, that keeps your options flexible. When something happens, it's not that training for, if you do running, or if you do gym or yoga or anything, that it can help you in the next whatever pandemic or economic situation happens. I'm not saying that, but it will make your mind nimble. It will make your approach very flexible to adapt the new things when it comes, because you have been training yourself to try and do new things all the time. So we have come in a generation where, if you look at my parents' generation, they probably lived the same kind of lifestyle for their entire lives. 60, 70, 80 years, their lifestyle did not change much. But if you see us, at least the first half of my life when I was studying, there was a certain lifestyle. And then in the late 90s and the early 2000s, when suddenly this whole technology boom happened, internet happened, mobile communication happened, and suddenly life changed so much for all of us. I grew up, and many of your professors might be in that era where we grew up in a house that did not have a TV to start with. Now you have now a baby is born in the house, and the first toy they give to the baby is a cell phone with 4G connection, with all the apps loaded on it. So lifestyle is changing. The only thing is, are you changing? Are you adapting to it? Are you flexible to adapt to the new things that are coming into your life? Does that answer your question, Shoaib?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the answer.
Great. I think all the answers are going to revolve around flexibility and adaptability, but we'll still take a few more questions.
Good morning, sir. My name is Aman Jain. So my question is, as we heard a lot that the change is inevitable, and with the advancement of technology, it even became more rapid. And in a future generation, they need to upskill or even reskill themselves at various points in their life. So how can we mentally prepare for it?
Absolutely. Upskilling and reskilling is the other way of telling that you need to learn new things, or you need to be prepared to learn new things, right? Now, I am a firm believer of the fact that the quality or the capabilities that you build inside you are going to help you in all the fields that you are in. Be it house, be it office, be it in any environment. The personal qualities that you build, right? Many people see upskilling or reskilling as learning a new software language, or learning a new skill, or doing a certification course in something. All those are perfectly right answers. But what is more important is your attitude and aptitude to always keep trying something new. Right? Never stop that learning part. And whatever you do, make sure that it contributes or it adds value to whatever basic qualities that you have. Qualities like communication, qualities like integrity, qualities like collaboration skills, qualities like leadership skills. These things are applicable everywhere. You can't say that a school teacher or a certain shopkeeper does not need leadership. Everyone needs leadership, and that leadership comes out in various forms. So whatever you are doing in life, make sure that it is contributing or it is building some capability or the other inside you, so that it will be, if that capability is not useful to you, at least the fact that you changed yourself to learn that new skill will help you in the future to learn newer skills. Okay, like we said, people ask all the time, what should I like? Many IT graduates come and ask us, what are those computer languages that I should learn to be successful in my career, right? And my answer to them is, I don't know. Because there is a language today, you learn it, it becomes obsolete in 2 years. What do? Do you come back on the road and you have nothing? No. The answer is to continuously learn and not just stay with one languages. If you see the history of software languages today, I don't even know the names of the new software languages that are being used by people all around the world. In fact, nowadays there is something called no code, low code or no code. You don't have to code at all. It is just you just build things with objects and blocks. So things are changing so much that you need to be. So if you are back from the 80s and 90s and all you know is C language and C++, you are like, okay, what do I do with these things today? Because you are obsolete. As obsolete is your skill, you as a person in this society are also obsolete. So be eager to learn, be eager to explore new things, do things that you have not done before. Don't do things that you have tried before. Venture into something that breaks your mental boundaries. I think that is the most important part.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next question.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Yeah. Hi.
My name is Raghav. Sir, we saw that during pandemic, there was a lot of upskilling and employment. But after the pandemic, lot of jobs were lost and companies went bankrupt. So what's your take on this, or how can we prevent this?
So think of it of why it happened, right? Yeah, I'll answer the second part of your question, that why did companies shut down? Okay. Companies shut down during pandemic because of sudden change in the consumer behavior. Or I'm not saying consumer as in a retail consumer, but whoever the business they were catering to. Okay, there was a sudden change in that behavior, and these people, the business people, could not sustain the absence of that business. Okay, and innovate new ways to still serve their customers, but by different means, right? So that was the single biggest factor. People's preferences change all the time. Today I like to eat in a restaurant, tomorrow I don't like to eat there, I will go to some other place. So my behavior as an individual changes all the time. But what happened during pandemic is suddenly 7 billion people's behavior changed overnight, isn't it? And that was the biggest shock, because the business was not ready. People did not know they had inventory, they had all the things set up to cater to people. A restaurant guy has bought fruits and vegetables, and there are no customers to serve it, and it is all getting wasted. So they didn't anticipate this sudden overnight change to happen, and that is why many of the businesses failed. Okay, so now the question of upskilling or reskilling, as we talked about individuals upskilling and reskilling, the businesses are also looking for upskilling and reskilling. Okay, many of them are now investing in online business. Many of them are reinventing their business model. Many of them are reinventing their commercial model of how they will charge the customers. Like, for example, we all see around us. I mean, India is a fantastic ground for watching all these different entities, because we have created this entire ecosystem of these service providers. If you take a company like Urban Company, you're all familiar with Urban Company, right? The people who come to fix things in your houses. Okay, there were many other companies, but only Urban Company is prevailing today, and many other companies that started on the same lines have died out because of the commercial model. And they were able to do this because they realized that people's behavior of how they will react when a serviceman or an electrician or a plumber is sent to your house. The first time they will come through Urban Clap. The second time you will just call that plumber directly and you will cut the middleman, right? That is normal people behavior. You can't blame people for that. So what Urban Clap has done is, it is not charging the servicemen on per job basis. I'm just giving you an example of how people adapt to situations. It does not charge people on per job basis. It says that Urban Clap, if I'm an electrician, I'll pay Urban Clap a certain sum of money, say 5,000 rupees or something. And Urban Clap will make sure that I get 99 service calls in a month. If I don't get, then that balance gets carried over to next month and you get more calls. Okay. So whatever money you make in those calls is your money. It doesn't matter how much it could be a 50 rupee job, it could be a 5,000 rupee job or a 50,000 rupee job. It doesn't matter. What matters is Urban Clap gets its money even before it is giving business to its people. Okay. So it is making money upfront. And it says you go and do the job, and if you are doing a good job, you will get repeated jobs and you can make as much money as you want. So when they change this commercial, all others, what they were doing is per job basis they were charging. So you charge 500 rupees to the customer, give me 200 rupees, just like how Uber and Ola are charging, right? You give me a share of that. That's how they were charging. But what happened was they were losing out on customers because next time they would call the plumber or the electrician directly. So not just individuals, but the businesses also need to be flexible in the way they approach this. They have to innovate. They have to come up with new models of how they want to serve the consumer base. So that's very important from a reskilling and upskilling point of view.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other question? I know the mic has to pass, so we'll take the 10 seconds pause in between.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Goindam Rastogi. So, sir, as you said, that in VUCA world, new technologies coming every day. So, I would like to know what are your views with respect to the latest tech innovation, that is cryptocurrency.
Okay, so as a user, I am not using. Of course, there are some restrictions in India for using of cryptocurrency, bitcoins, and things like that. But it is a phenomenon that is taking shape today, mostly because of extreme governmental control and on how people spend their money. So people said we are going to do our own money and start using it. But it is still at the nascent stages. As a entire world, the adoption of that is very, very less, right? But if you take normal currency or even credit cards or digital payment that is routed through a bank, through government supervision, that is still being used by everyone, isn't it? Everyone around the earth is using, maybe not some tribal folk living in deep jungles of Africa, maybe not using it, but almost 99.99% of the people are using it. But cryptocurrency, if you see, right now the adoption is very less. Maybe 1% also, I doubt if people around the world are using it. The second is we have to see when it actually starts clashing with things that are essential for your lifestyle. Okay, right now crypto is mostly being used in the non-essential things like art, and then NFTs and things like that, where metaverse, those kind of things which people can live without at this point. It has not become indispensable for us. So the investments and the interest of people is happening in that area. But when it comes to essential, can I buy 10 kg rice with bitcoins? Will my shopkeeper accept bitcoins? Will he also trade in bitcoins? Now, when it comes to that level, that is where we need to see, because there are so many other socio-economic factors that come into play when a ecosystem has to be created completely on this kind of a system. So if you think about it, if you go back maybe 100 years, 500 years, when the whole money exchange for goods and services started, right? People in those era would also have had that challenge of accepting that as a mode of business, or as a medium of business, right? I give you money and you give me rice. I mean, it would be a very surprising phenomenon for people back in those days, when they were just exchanging goods with goods. You give me rice, I give you furniture, something like that. So any such system that radically, fundamentally changes the way we operate in our daily lives takes time to mature, takes a lot of testing by people to see if it can really sustain over the next 1,000 years. See, money exchange for goods and services has been around for God knows how many years, how many decades and centuries, right? But for something like cryptocurrency, which banks so heavily on digital, which banks so heavily on connectivities, communication, in fact, also people's knowledge, right? Not everyone can use crypto. You need to understand how it operates. So it has a lot of dependencies. So I have my apprehensions of the scale of adoption that will happen. And plus, when it starts interfering with lifestyle elements, what will be the role of government? What will be the role of the entire ecosystem players who will, whether they will adopt or not, is a questionable thing. So my fingers are crossed on it. I don't think I'll live long enough to see how it pans out after 100, 200 years. But it is a phenomenon, and it is slowly taking shape. We'll have to see where it goes. Again, keep your minds open to see how it reacts, maybe even indulge in it a bit to see how it operates and things like that. But will it engulf all the aspects of my life? Not in the near future.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Who's next? Thanks to the guy who is passing around the mic. I mean, we just lost that habit in the last 2 years because everybody is just unmute yourself and speak was the culture that I got used to. But I am readjusting to the passing the mic phenomenon here.
Good morning, sir.
Hi.
I'm Karan Sidana. So I was just wondering, like in a VUCA world, what would be a better strategy to apply our current knowledge from past experiences or to unlearn and innovate? Or would it typically be a mix of both?
Simple answer is option C, mix of both. See, you have to accept the fact that you never know what is going to happen. Okay. If you don't know what is going to happen, how do you prepare yourself? And that's the whole concept of VUCA. If somebody says to prepare for the VUCA world, do this, then I'm going to call his bluff, because the very definition of VUCA is you don't know what is going to happen, isn't it? So it's not what you prepare yourself with, it is how you are ready to prepare yourself with whatever you are preparing yourself with. Are you willing to change your lifestyle? Tomorrow, if petrol prices go through the roof, like it has been increasing for all this while, tomorrow if it reaches a point where it is like in Sri Lanka, right? Sri Lanka, it is like 300 rupees, 280, 300 rupees per liter of petrol. Even in Pakistan, it is touching the sky. People are not able to buy petrol. There is shortage of petrol. When such a thing happens, how much of your lifestyle is dependent on it? Can you live without driving a car or driving a bike? Can you survive doing that? Okay. I mean, these are very visible indicators that are right in front of us right now, right? Petrol prices, oil prices, essentials supply, all these things are taking a hit and taking a strain because of this global socio-economic political conditions. So in that aspect, can you create a lifestyle for yourself that minimizes the dependencies on all these things? And how many of us are doing it? I mean, people are doing dharna and protest outside minister's house for petrol price and gas cylinder price. But I don't see any reduction of number of vehicles on the road. How many people have actually stopped driving? That's not happening, right? We are not taking up that change. I have seen this exact change in US. Back in 2008, I was in US, and the real estate crisis happened at that time, and petrol prices just went up from $2 to $5, almost $6. And I could see the absence of cars on the road. Literally, people stopped driving. They said, only I will go out for essentials, no pleasure trips, no fun trips. I'll just go to shopping once in a week, once in a fortnight, buy my things and come back. I'm not going to waste time and money on petrol. Okay, but not in India, right? Do you see any less number of vehicles on the road? We don't. What does it tell you? It tells you that we are not ready to accept the change. We are happy to pay that incremental value. I will tell you a sure shot formula of petrol prices dropping tomorrow to 50 rupees per liter. You know what that formula is? Stop driving. If everybody in India stops driving, everybody in the world stops driving today, tomorrow the petrol prices will drop, because it is just demand versus supply, isn't it? And it's same for everything. But the thing is, we are not ready to adapt that change. But if this really happens 5 years, 10 years from now, then what do you do? Then how will you survive? Are you linking the essential things in your life to having to drive somewhere in a car or a bike, or take a taxi to fulfill your living needs? So that is the question. And if you have an answer to that, if you can survive that, then you are better prepared for tomorrow than somebody else who is dependent on that, isn't it? It is all about our personal choices. Does it answer your question? Little philosophical, but
yes, it does.
okay. Next.
Hello, Mr. Shrikant. I'm Ananya. So my
Hi.
question is, how do we overcome the fears and anxieties that comes with the change?
Very good question. It touches upon human behavior and psychology. So I like the question because it is a question that directly asks what I can do rather than what others can do, right? As I told that we have to be flexible, and I think I answered the question in my initial opening statement, is that start exploring new things right away. Okay, that don't worry if that new thing is a future is a learning that is going to help you in the future. Don't think about that, but do something that is outside your comfort zone and keep doing it again and again with newer things. Okay, what it will do you, what it will condition your mind, and this is where the psychology and human behavior aspect comes in, is that it will make your mind nimble and flexible. It will make you ready to accept new things in your life very quickly and adapt very quickly, whatever that new thing may be. Okay, you cannot predict what you will have to adapt in the future, but you will be ready as a person with open thoughts, with flexible mind to accept it. And the process to start doing that, to train your mind and train your behavior, is to start doing new things right now. While you are in college, your professors are here, every week, every fortnight, or every month. Take up an assignment or take up a project that is radically different than what you normally do. Radically different. Don't worry about consequences, what you are learning or anything, but take up a project that you have never done before, or IIM has never done before, or nobody has even heard of before. Okay, and do it. Whether you pass or fail is inconsequential, because you are not doing it for passing or failing. You are doing it because you are training yourself to be adaptable to new situations. So that's the simple answer. As much as you try new things the people who were gravely affected by all the changes are the people who refuse to change, not the people who are who grasp the change and adapted to it really quickly.
So there's one more question. Actually, there are many things that we want to learn, and there are many things that we have to learn. So how can we prioritize things which which will be beneficial for us? Like, there are many things which are in our mind that we have to learn. So
like
how
what?
do we prioritize?
Like what?
Like, sir, I want to learn many skills, like in marketing as well, in digital aspect and all things.
Yeah.
But I can't prioritize those skills on some basis. So how
Yeah,
can we?
don't prioritize. No, just go ahead and learn it, because you never know what you will need. And if there are two things. One is for your personal interest, hobbies, or anything like that, right? Which fuels your creative imagination, your personal satisfaction. Music, some people learn painting, some people learn dancing. Those are all things that is for your personal satisfaction. Then there are job related skills, where you're talking about marketing courses and some digital courses, mobile courses, things like that will help you in your job. Now the question is, what is really going to be helpful to you in the future? And the answer to that is, if I am able to tell that, I should be getting paid for doing these sessions, and I should be paid handsomely, because I am predicting something that nobody can or should predict. Okay, but the fact that you are doing these courses, and you are doing these courses in succession, and without giving it a break, will make you ready to accept any new thing that comes into your life. I am reminded of a story, since you brought this up, of Steve Jobs. So when Steve Jobs was in school or college, you have to take some lectures, right? You have to sign up for a few subjects in the school, and he was short of one subject or one lecture to sign up for, and he didn't know what to do in that. Because you would expect that Steve Jobs is a very technical person. He would go for technical courses. We are talking back in the 70s here, or late 60s, early 70s. And he didn't know what to sign up for. So he ended up going to a typesetting calligraphy class. You know what calligraphy is, right? The art of beautiful handwriting. So he went and took that class, and he just attended the class. He learned how to do it and all that. And later, 10-15 years after he took that course, when he was actually designing the interface for the operating system for Apple computers and MacBooks, how the fonts should be, how the spacing should be, how they should be designed, what will make a good user experience, all those things came to him from the course that he did 15 years ago. So 15 years ago, if he had thought that what is the relevance of doing calligraphy, I'm not going to paint banners and posters. If he had thought that way and not taken that course, he would have never used it. And that's why, all that the fonts that you see on the screen, the way they are spaced, the way they are written, all those, there is a science behind it. And to make it appealing and to make it visually attractive, you should have the knowledge of calligraphy, knowledge of those typesetting science behind it. So you never know what piece of knowledge will come to your rescue at what point of time. The only thing is, don't stop learning, keep learning something or the other, and do these short courses. There are, not everything is a 4-year course today, right? There is Udemy, there is EDX, there are hundreds and thousands of websites, and YouTube, in fact, is the best free coach that you can get in your life. And you all have YouTube on your phones. Okay. So every day spend half an hour watching a informative video on YouTube and making notes of that video. In fact, I have this notebook with me that I carry with me all the time, and anything I find interesting or informative, I just write in this notebook and keep. So it becomes permanent in my life. It is not a digital data that just evaporates at some point. So eyes and ears open, learn everything, do short courses, and just go one learning after the other. Don't stop doing that. And it doesn't matter if that is relevant or not. All the things, your brain is an excellent instrument that will connect all these things at some point in your life.
Due to time constraints, I won't be able to take any more questions. We thank you, Mr. Shrikant, for the insightful talk and valuable inputs. Each one of us present here is taking many valuable lessons on evolving business environment today from you. I am sure it will help not just the upcoming batch, but each one of us in our upcoming journey.
Thank you so much. I am, as Sandeep said, it is very nice to see a group here in one place. So I'm looking forward to being there in person to meet and talk if at all it is possible. Thank you so much for this chance. I learned a lot of things exploring and researching about this topic. So thanks for this opportunity. It opened a few windows for me as well. Thank you.
So our next speaker for the session is Ms. Shraddha Pradhan, Vice President, Human Resources, ICICI Lombard. Ma'am started her journey with ICICI Lombard in 2015. As a human resource professional, ma'am has worked across diverse industries and countries as head of human resource function or as a specialist talent management professional in Fortune 500, as well as in large-scale reputed GPTW certified Indian organization. Ma'am has a successful track record in partnering with MDs and senior management of companies in designing HR strategies and deployment, driving organizational effectiveness, galvanizing for cultural turnaround, and building high-performing organization. We are truly honored to have you here with us, ma'am. So now I would kindly request ma'am to deliver the talk to our students.
Thank you so much. That's very nice of you to introduce about myself, my career. Honestly speaking, I think after the recent VUCA world or VUCA event hitting us, which is Corona, those many years of experiences, I really wonder whether what's going to be irrelevant for future. With that submission, I would humbly start as if I'm as new as you guys. I wish I was, but starting today from onwards, I think 2 years you'll do undergo in IIM Rohtak a good kind of skilling, upskilling, and unlearning as well of the things you have learned in the past and picking up things which are required for the new world. So the way I have approached today's topic is talking about the skill sets which are emerging for you and which have a great role to play in terms of your career and development going forward or progress overall. I'm also going to touch upon some very critical strategic choices the organizations are having to deal with. They have a dilemma. It's still going on, unfortunately, because You never know when and what kind of VUCA event will take place in near future, because one country, one virus and multiple viruses can really affect us so much, can send us back home for 2 years, 1.5 years. I think it's amazing. I've never thought in my 50 years of life that this will ever hit, but it's hit it and taught us a lot of things. So I'm here as a people function or people experience professional to share few things with you. I'll quickly share that, and then would love to have it interactive. So would take question and answers from you. So as I said, I think I've already said pretext. We are quickly going to look at, I think every other speaker before me was, that's a disadvantage that you have as the last speaker, but I will take it and pick it up as an advantage, that how VUCA has led to new work norms and new work skills emerging. So from that sense, I will cover what's really VUCA and why it has changed our life so much. Does it really impacted us globally in India as students, as employees? And then what are the strategic choices that it has thrown in front of us? And how should we really take this heads on? So this is what has VUCA done to all of us. It has defined another evolution of humans or human community. I think from website it was good to have, it was e-commerce. Then we used to say that we need friends, followers, and Instagrams were born. Then that was not enough. Social groups started on the social media, and newer marketing technology emerged. And if that's not enough, as if I think we've almost got down to technology so much that everything we want technology to do, take care. Incidentally, you know, I brought some of the things really missing is the ads are practically over from the TV. Very little ads, and it's replaced with the influencing on the social media, so much so that if you are not there, you are not selling. So all FMCG companies and all other, every other thing that you want to buy, the groups are getting governed, good or bad or worse, but that's what it is. Televisions and shows on television, the soap operas there are over, and OTTs have taken place, and in 7-8 episodes they're so sharply shooted or planned. I think they've taken all our attentions and have defined what VUCA can do, and so much disruptive the world can be. So volatility, why volatility actually comes to be, stands for volatility. See, I think change, I think every other speaker must have spoken that change is constant. Rapid changes also we have seen in the cosmos, and they are highly unstable. Changes are good, bad, they are predictable, non-predictable, they are positive, negative. VUCA did that to us. Some of the things, some industries really gained. For example, one of the industry big time gained is our industry also, the insurance, which is with risk in mind. Everyone is thinking about the right life risk before even stepping out of the house. And it's not funny how the health space, health insurance has expanded double digit more than 50% for last 2 years for any and every life insurance and general insurance industry. And backed up by technology. So the insurance people don't want to, of course, go and buy it in the insurance offices. They want to go and buy it online. In 3 minutes, you can insure your car now. And the risk taught us, the VUCA taught us to do that. These frequent changes are not with the interval. They are not with prediction. And it's very difficult to manage these changes because it's really changed the pace at which every variable was changing. It was making it worse to find and establish cause and effect. What's happening and why it is happening, because multiple factors came to play, and that made it even worse. Where the uncertainty came from, obviously the volatility gave rise or gave birth to the uncertainty, because the past predicting future is become impossible. Nothing was working, the past models failed, there were unknown variables which emerged, and this information and access to information has really led to a worse thing in the form of complexities hitting us every time. And therefore, the unstable environment, okay, and made it complex. The things were complex and complicated, and unexpected interactions were making it worse. For example, nobody even thought that a common cold could be a coronavirus, and therefore the industry which grown maximum was mask. Nobody would have thought, nobody would have predicted, nobody thought in pharma industry that comorbidities like cardiac events or the diabetes will take up a huge insurge in terms of emerging diseases due to VUCA world. The complexity hit us because there was multiple dimensions hitting in this VUCA world. The events after events were happening and they are multi-layered. One layer connected to other, full of different variables and moving in a pace that they wanted beyond our control. So what made very difficult is decision making today. It is highly entangled. One factor leads to another factor which is unpredictable. They intermingle so complex in a complex way. It was very difficult to define what is really right, what is wrong, and therefore affecting organizations about making right decisions. Should I call my employees to work? If you do that, then employees were quitting. If you tell them to be at home, even then the employees were quitting. So we really in HR community also were wondering what's really happening. And then emerged what I'm going to talk later on is what is called as era of rage quitting. People have quitted the careers itself, have started sitting at home, thus reducing the supply of talent. When the VUCA hit them, they wanted to follow what is called YOLO, you live only once. Now, all these terms have come very new in VUCA. That's one more gift that VUCA has given us. Last 2 years event of Corona hitting us. Ambiguity, I think ambiguity taught us big lessons to human community. Best practices, best benchmarks, one size fits all was out of question. In today's world, it was absolutely difficult to precisely determine. You know, we say things are black, white, and then some things are really in between in gray. And we in human resources, we always say that human beings, how they can be predicted, how will they behave for same things. Different individual or same individuals will react differently. But there were hundreds of gray shades is what VUCA has taught us. There were hundreds of new different things which you had to think about while you were thinking about some of the challenges. New age challenges hit us and managerial decision making was becoming essentially very important. In fact, you will see people started overtaking, technology took over big time compared to what we used to talk about people, compared to what we used to talk one point of time in VUCA was majorly hitting everyone. So much so, I think technology-based companies later on saw a very big growth, but interestingly, I'm also going to share who saw the changes. So even to the angel in the heaven, people started telling, you also live only once. So please decide what are the priorities of yours. And people started actually being very clear about their priorities, about what they want to live, what they want to give up. And therefore, you can see a huge exits from the job markets. Any ideas, just asking a question that what has really led to which industry saw biggest growth in this and which products saw biggest growth? In VUCA time? Just wild guess. Okay, let me go to that. So you see all these e-commerce companies, obviously the technology-led supply chain companies have seen a big growth in their market shares. And what did people buy is even more amazing. Furnitures were very obvious because we were all working from home. Appliances were also very, very obvious. But the clothes, people changed their wardrobes by, I don't know where they were going with those clothes because we were not venturing out so much. So it suddenly saw a huge insurge in personal care, jewelry, furniture, and of course food and grocery because all of us were stuck at home. So that's a big revelation as compared to, of course, even medicines, pharmaceuticals saw a huge insurge because of the disease condition of VUCA of Corona. Having said that, what I was telling you that our day-to-day things, our day-to-day, in the company, the practices, the policies we have, or people-related issues, all overtook by technology. And one point of time, it was getting really exaggerated. I mean, we were debating in our company about how AI and ML is going to change, or even the bots are going to change. And after discussing that, we came to a conclusion that judgment for decision making is still not going to get replaced as a major skill. going forward. It's not going to get replaced so much. And as much as the complex decision is and world is the way it is, VUCA world is still getting extended. I don't think so it is over. It's here to stay. It's still taking place. It's lesser or more in the intensity, but it's not gone and it's not going to. Let's face it. It's here to stay. It's better that you and me get prepared for it. But let's not do an overdose of technology, which was also happening. With technology, I think people started treating other people also as a robot. And that got also reflected in people really burning out in the first phase. I think everyone was very happy, work from home. People have been demanding it for various requirements, genuinely also. But now it became a work choice. In my company, our attrition is immediately gone up in a couple of months when we talked about coming back to work after Corona, reduced in its risk. We told people that customer-facing functions should come and report. Rest still continues where there is not so much of customer-facing, and managers and leaders can keep taking calls. Moment we shifted the needle to, you can be as flexible, but ask people to follow the cadence. It became improved situation. So now the choices have changed. It's not no more 9 to 5 or 10 to 5:30 kind of work schedule that people are expecting. It's not even the PL that people want to plan. It's continuous balanced life that people want to live. Because such an uncertainty of life itself has hit us, people have made those choices very clearly. Multiple offers. I mean, once it was rage quitting, people burned out. People were feeling, I don't want to continue. I don't want to continue with this job. Some people said, I don't want to continue with job itself. So there is a concept of job also underwent a huge shake-up. That is there anything as a defined job? Can I go part-time? I want to work when I want to work. That kind of situation. And that led to, on the other hand, people like me who were sitting there to recruit or hire people, we were facing a huge supply chain challenge of talent. But that's the life. I think it's settling down. What was in VUCA world, seen the turfs and mostly the peaks, the turf is starting now. I don't think so it's stabilizing, but the highest peak is coming down, it's tapering down toward technology. And I believe even technology companies have realized that everything cannot be changed with the technology. However, there are certain facts, how it impacted employee engagement or human factor at work. So this is about India, and I restricted myself to India only. You can see the employee attrition in the last 2 years of India stood at around 24%, and they said it is further going to go increasing. We all saw a huge increase. I don't know where people were living, but I'm told people who are having domain knowledge and technical or technology to it, they were in the hot skill. The niche skill, the unique skill was the domain knowledge. And the toppest of top, the hottest skills were when you were oscillating between these skills very easily. So you had both technology skills and domain skill, domain expertise. You were really, really rare source. And people were willing to pay anything and wanted to retain you and wanted to have you there. So that's the fact. And every industry was pulling, even if they found anything common with the other industry. So FMCG industry were taking people from insurance, insurance was taking from banking, banking was taking from hotel, anything was happening. Technology was taking from everyone because they wanted to automate a lot of things and they had huge projects to kind of expand. They also found that virtual way of working or VUCA way of working was so difficult that 60% of new leaders who joined the new companies were not functional for almost 1.5 years. They struggled so much. They actually struggled hugely to establish their rapport, relationship, trust, transparency with their team. And we realized that way of virtually working continuously can hit us with a lot of these issues. And thus, obviously, it was to impact the employee engagement. They say the Gallup survey says that 70% variance was found in employee engagement scores, and which was with this discontentment with manager, which was actually not to do with the managers, but it was to do with the managerial skills. To identify that in virtual world, it is not the same way, the way we used to work before. Today, when we come to that 70% employee engagement scores were deviated and mostly negatively. I remember a chart, I have not put it here, but worldwide, employee engagement scores were down by at least 4 to 5 or more percentages across the world. Yeah. Of course, we as ICSL Lombard, we were the same. So we didn't slide, fortunately, because there were a lot of things which were introduced. I remember some of the wacky things, which I'll just give it to you as an example. We launched something called as One IL, One ICSL Lombard. And you know, the objective was only to talk to your people about how they were. Nothing else. So reviews and all, performance, everything saw ups and downs. A lot of challenges came up. Customer facing functions were not going out, but it was important to stand up together and establish that trust with a transparency that I care. And we thought, anyway, we care. I mean, why should we do all of this? But you will not believe 70% of the organization, and we have around 13,000 employees, got picked up in nearly 4 days' time. That was the need. And we got tremendously huge feedback, a positive feedback about it. And I was wondering, I've never done this kind of an engagement activities before. So much of training has taken place of asynchronously working to the employees, and managers are still undergoing training. I'm just out before 3 days on a coaching session as to how do I coach people in the VUCA world? How do I hone my skills? Not that I didn't know how to coach my people. I have 100 people team in HR, but it has changed the equation. Because half the team sometimes at home, I'll give you my own example, half the team is in office. So if you have to address, you want to have any meeting, any deliberation, you have to call the other 3 people who are at home. Now, thus it required huge infrastructure to undergo a change. It also required every interaction which was in office one-on-one. I used to walk up to people, my people, or they used to come to my cubicle and talk. It had become a scheduled meeting, thus blocking all of our time madly. The day was not ending before 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. We as an organization issued working norms, the guidelines, and said that at 7 o'clock, any which way, we wind up the day, latest by 7:30 unless something is urgent. And we have to publish it to take care of people having faced the burning out issue. And no wonder, therefore, 43% of employees, the Labor Bureau says, felt not valued in this period very, very sharply. Now you can imagine the emotional state in which people were and what issues they were facing, and students were not exception to this. One of my very close friend is a principal of a college, and I have seen how she was struggling. And her struggle was not to deal with this situation. That was, she's very sharp and very clever. But it was about what will happen to my students. It's a virtual way of working. Will they absorb the same way? Do I understand? Because 80-90% of communication, and whether the other person has understood the communication and the message, is on your face. If you are not able to see complete body language, and then, in any class there could be around 80 to 100 students, you still have one-on-one interaction, and that got discontinued. Can you imagine? Professors, the lecturers had to pick up what kind of new skills. One of my nephews is studying MBBS. The last 2 years, they did not cut any body, dead body. VUCA world. And such doctors treating me, I asked him, do you know where the kidneys are? I'm sure. So those are the things. And now in the 3rd year, they are pushing a lot of stuff. I mean, every other day they are, dissecting and learning and creating pressure for themselves. That's a different story. So exams were online, selection was online, classes were on Zoom, and people were wondering, will my placement interviews, how they will happen virtually? Who will assess me? How they will assess me? Will I get a PPO, and so on and so forth? I think a lot of things of this must be playing on in your mind. Right now, thankfully, we are all back, and your faculties are seeing you in front of them, which is the best thing to happen in the world, I would say. Because although we were all challenged by VUCA world, let's face it, face-to-face has an importance to it. At the same time, needs to be balanced. If tomorrow I tell you that let's go back again and do the classes on Zoom, I think we are much, much better prepared. But that doesn't mean Zoom has replaced everything, right? In the learning to be done offline or online. So offline has its own, I won't say charm, but has its own importance and relevance, which is still not lost. As long as human beings are a part of this situation, controlling or being part of it, critically driving it, it is here to stay. So 48% employees, they were expecting transparency as to whatever you are doing with me, don't tell me on the screen. I want to see you, I want to sense you, I want to ask questions. Otherwise, they were feeling insecure about their jobs. Yeah, we did merger in this time also, and I'm very proud to say the amount of preparation that the senior management asked us to do, our MD, thanks to them, that we had thought about what will lead to job. First of all, it was merger anyways, and it was VUCA world. Everything was virtually done, and 2,500 employees were onboarded. But the way we welcomed them, we went into all details of onboarding process as to what leads to the manager's trust, what increases the manager trust and transparency. We had to change whole host of joining process angles. We had to increase senior management's interactions with them one-on-one. We also had to take care of junior level employees where there were very many and colleagues were welcoming them. So the entire organization was made to virtually welcome, and by settling people, humans, or new employees who were joining us. So thus, therefore, the organization is also expecting us that in the performance, because sudden challenges led to volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. Inside the organization, we were saying if volatility is there, then what? You know, we have to be fast and nimble. It's very ICSL Lombard word, one of our guiding principles to win in the marketplace, to take care of our customers. He said even more speed, and that's where technology came. That whatever are the, for example, claims which were 5,000 and less, we started processing as is through AI. After AI checks, it's done. There is no human intervention there. He said the complex claims or more value cost claims will be intervened through human interventions and expertise and knowledge. Because in general insurance, as we deal with health, we also deal with many other specialty areas. So we deal with marine, we deal with aeroplanes, we also insure the aeroplanes and their travels. Apart from traveling employees inside, travelers inside. If it was complex, we said, and in the recent talent assessment, we made this change. We said that length or specialty, I want to do marketing and I'll only go this way. That's not going to work. So the rounding off of your skills have to be a breadth of experience. So if I have handled a particular product, can I go to other line of businesses? If I'm in HR, can I also look at fraud as my next, wing to expand? If it was L&D, can I look at HR compensation and benefit? If I'm marketing guy, can I go to sales and come back? This breadth, and not all have to do it. But if you are interested in your progress and development, this breadth of experience with creative mind, with your ability, your intelligence, and that's not the intellectual intelligence alone, it's emotional intelligence as well. So balance of both brings the breadth of experience, and which became so valuable. And most importantly, self-awareness. In all this complexity, if you want to look at decision making, if you have know-how, if you have technology with you, I think most important is still the judgment with which you will take decisions, and that can only happen if you are self-aware. If you are aware about the biases you have, then your decisions is unbiased. So knowing that, being aware about your own self makes you more perfect, more valuable in the VUCA world. That's very critical. This I already spoke about. Very interesting, again, terminologies. You can see leaders on hybrid working, they're 66%. They were saying that they were redesignating offices. Many of the physical places to sit got discontinued. I don't know whether you are aware. We also reduced all our offices. And when we took over the other company, which is Bharti Exa, we also revamped and reduced our offices even further. We did not go for every other AXA office, which in earlier stage probably we would have done, because half the people were working, or 60-70% people were working from home. We don't require any more physical office infrastructure. It was adding to my cost and making me less profitable. Employees on flexible working, basically still 73% people want the flexible working. But there are 27%, which is also a significant number, who are saying we want to come back to work. I think sitting at home also has had its own challenges. And employees in-person working post-pandemic, you can see that employees want in-person working, 67, and it's people don't want personal working, was 33. So pre and post also you can see a big change. So what ended up with rage quitting, huge attrition, then it was replaced, or people call it great resignation era, got replaced with revenge hiring. I mean, these words are really scary, but the startups came up. Startups never had any offices. They didn't have infra. They had technology. And every other person coming from your type of colleges, we could see them getting lost out to startups. As I talked about the technical skills, niche skills, hot skills, knowledge-based people who come and join us, we were seeing a really depletion or brain drain of these people in the short term. So therefore, I mean, every person had two offers, and you see here that what they wanted to do. People wanted to take job breaks because they wanted to pursue higher education, or I think Srinivasan was speaking before me, was telling you to follow YouTube. So you want to learn painting or calligraphy learned by Steve Jobs. Was something like that. People wanted to pursue what they wanted to pursue, which they could never do. Wanted to spend time with family. I have a small child. I don't know whether I'll be able to spend time, and VUCA will make it worse. People have taken breaks, and people are easily taking breaks because earlier we used to see in CV, oh, break, or very little stints is now the history. The past models, that's not predicting your future success anyways. So we had to change the way we were looking at the candidates and talent going forward. People moved to different, I mean, salary hikes, better work life came as a second most reason. Need for remote working for various life events impacting. So father, mother went through Corona, people have taken breaks to take care of them. Okay. Or son and daughter suffering, people wanted to be with them. And if flexibility was not there, people have chosen to quit. So these were some of the strategic choices people were thinking in the industry or beyond industry. Whether it's remote working is the future. Will all of us in future, and many companies are still operating 100% from home or in-person future. Is machine our future or people are our future? Is it rapid disruption or it's a slow change? And is it a job dead or it's still job alive? These are, when I was reading through a lot of research and material, this came as 4 key, strategic choices people were or organizations were exploring. I've just given some thoughts here. I think it's all about balancing all of it. So as I said, it can't be remote working for everyone all the time also. So it's balancing and dividing jobs, which is very important. So building engagement, and line managers would require people. So what we say is every 15 days, there has to be a physical meeting. You come back, meet me, unless you are a sales person, and all of our sales for insurance industry happens in the field. Only thing is renewal and all are the processes which are happening online. But even nowadays, new exploring or new prospecting of new clients is also happening majorly, but it's showing a trend. But therefore, we can't say that therefore 100% we can sit back and work from home. We have done that very wisely for relevant people at the relevant times. And the time has come. Actually, you have policy booklets, which is like policies for all. And, once you pass out from IIM Rohtak, join somewhere as employees, people will also let you know this is your appointment letter and these are the policies applicable. Time has come, honestly, to come up for individual policies in HR. I'm literally every day and day out, I have to come up, and practices have overtaken policies, literally. Because you want to take care of your employees, you want to take care of your talent. You can't be telling them now this is the rule book which will bind you. But that doesn't mean you take out all the pages of it and say that it's no more valid for me. So that right balance at the right time is very important. And therefore, being fast but nimble, agile, flexible is very important skill. Machines are future or people are future? I think it's a hugely discussed again. Keep close eye on which roles machine will replace. Can machine replace everything for us? Somebody was telling me that you were not downloading yourself. You are human being, right? So technology has not taken over those things, and judgment and decision making on as a sharper skills is still getting refined to large level. Even that has found a pattern models, and then enriching bots, etc., helps us to do that. I mean, I have HR bot which is now doing instructive queries. You tell him to apply for your leave, it will apply for your leave. But it doesn't tell you about, if you are taking leave for your mother who is sick, when will you come back? That has to be a discussion and a decision still from the human point of view to be taken. You can take that decision also. They will tell me that out of 100 people, 90 grandmothers could be sick, 10 mothers could be sick, and therefore we should say yes or no, something like that. But it's limited, and we should keep it, we should utilize and optimize that, but should not overdo. Watch out for rapid disruption or slow change. I think closely monitor changes in workplace which are data driven. And today, even in HR, I'm doing that, and our whole organization is technology driven. We say rather than in general insurance, we are more of technology company. And therefore, whatever is non-value added, whatever is standardized, it is getting under technology. But I think constant debate which happens in our company is it coming in the way of empowering our people who then meet up with the customer and provide them speedy services on claims, on ensuring, whichever. If the answer is no, we still stop. We still take break and see. And of course, what is competition is there. But I think we are ahead of the game, thankfully. I'm very proud of that we look more technology company where you can renew your insurance in less than 2 to 3 minutes time online. And there are hundreds of technology solutions we have introduced as a company in VUCA world, even more. For example, I'll tell you a very funny example. We have cattle insurance in which there used to be a lot of frauds. People used to claim a lot of false claims that my cattle is died and therefore, pay me the insurance. So we used to insert a subcutaneous chip under the cattle's skin. Typically in the ear, you would have seen it also. So carefully observed the very professionally grown up cattle who are milked anyway. We came up with a technology like our thumb impression. The cattle have unique muzzle, and each cattle can be recognized by its muzzle pattern. The wrinkles on the muzzle. And once you take a picture of that, you can match it like forensic, and we stopped it. In lot of highways, and we are doing this project with our IRDA, which is our regulatory partner. Why I'm telling you this example is, in VUCA world, another big skill which has made people win is creativity and innovation. So it was not that we were not, but sitting at home, restricting ourselves, coming up with these challenges gave rise to a lot of solutions in a creative way, in an innovation form. So more than 21 highways have been identified with many places where there are turns, there are slopes, are more risky and accident prone, which we found out. And with IRDA's permission and help, we came up with how those turns and slopes can be changed to reduce accidents. So in many places, wherever you find that the boards are there and you can really see the road who used to be 2 years back, 3 years back, the way it was, and now it's straightened up or reduce the turn, etc. That's the work which is done by our company as a value addition to reduce the claim for our end, but to help customers save life and improve the quality of life that they have. So job is dead or long live the job. So I just spoke about the hot skill, the niche skills and all of that. It's easy to get basically, excited on hot job and, do more significant changes there. And that happens to be a small area of your talent overall pool. It's not everywhere. So don't boil the ocean unnecessarily. So dig deep into what your organization is seeking. Where do you need this kind of agile talent to be there to win in the marketplace? And that's how organizations are going to play to protect this kind of talent. That's what we did, the maximum bang for the buck. we invested is on these skills. People were having multiple skills of technology and domain, then followed by only domain and huge knowledge and expertise, and then followed by all other people who are in the other categories doing very well, and then rest of the others. So now naturally, you are going to focus on the top triangle of the room, of the pyramid, and you are going to focus on whom you want to retain for future. And it's very, very clear in so many ways. These are the drivers, what has happened, why it has happened to us, why the new skills have gone. So I think extreme longevity is the connection. Whatever is happening worldwide, it affects our career today. Rise of smart machines is going to take away many jobs humans are doing. They have already nudged us, they have already shaken up and showed where the future lies or where it doesn't lie. So generic skills, general skills, which were found in the companies, and I won't say that only at the lower level and all. It is at every level. The routine jobs, as long as they were there, irrespective of levels, are disappearing. Computational world, I think there are massive sensors and processing data, which has led us to believe everything is programmable again. So more and more complexity, more and more human is responding with a lot of data analytics. We have a huge team of business intelligence unit, which does find out a lot of customer patterns, claim patterns, even HR, they automate a lot of things for employee behaviors and reaction, employee engagements. And we have found hugely, there are patterns, there are models which are predictive and are defining our future in a way. We better be ready. Then the next one is huge. It's about media ecology. I think new media tools have changed life. I spoke in the beginning of this interaction. It's beyond words. It's not about what words and what it does. It really impacts the way you live, where you make critical decisions. And it's a globally connected world. It was earlier also. It has become even more now. And with that, two skill sets are important. How you welcome and sustain with diversity. And secondly, how do you adapt to different cultures across the world? So these are the new skills which I was referring and talking to you about. The social intelligence, the transdiscipline, it's like expertise in more than one function. It's not just marketing, not just supply chain, not HR. You have to know something else in domain, and which is why I think the previous thoughts of previous speaker I was relating well. Sense making. I have seen very few people tell you what to do. What not to do, I think people are really good at. Clear intent and envisioning. And these are the skills, yes, some people are born with it, but in educational institutions, especially now, revisiting what do you really develop your student for, time has come to rethink and introduce. Novel and adaptive thinking, virtual collaboration, it's a topic by itself. People have written probably pages, and time will come where there'll be already books available. Now, empathy and trust. You can say that that's like very basic. You have it or you don't have it. But what leads to the outward behavior expressing that? And therefore, how should I outwardly behavior? What display of behaviors or actions will lead to more trust building, especially in virtual world, in VUCA world, is very important. Maker instinct. Okay? That's again very important. Who takes charge? Who still leads? Complex problem solving. Making sense, I just spoke. Cognitive load management. Again, you have hundreds of things, hundreds of variables. What do you really choose? And it is not just about technical or your domain expertise. A lot to do with cross-cultural competency. A lot of things to do with inter-country, global understanding of people and deal with them very, very easily. And a design mindset as to what do I design this with to help future. I think some of it may be your subject. I hope you have very, very enriched debates and discussions as you enter today. And I welcome you to the journey of VUCA world. And I hope and I'm sure and confident that IIM Rohtak will help you do this much better when you pass out and equip you with better skills. One thing which has come up which was very interesting, and I thought I'll put it across for you. It's an antidote, VUCA to VUCA. So volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. And I spoke about drivers, I spoke about impact, how people were feeling unstable, insecure, there was loss of control, there is increased risk, indecisiveness, increased analysis, delayed action, data overload, doubts, and all of that. If there is volatility, there is vision required to overcome that. If there is uncertainty, then understanding, intelligence, market intelligence, emotional intelligence, both are required. If it's more and more complex world hitting you with more and more complex issues, you need more and more clarity on the scene. And last but not the least, if it's ambiguous, the word also is very funny, ambiguous. आप बोल के देखिए, you talk and say and pronounce it. But if it's agility, I think there is nothing can be beat, if you are agile and you are nimble to deal with ambiguity effectively in future. Because agility gives you options, agility gives you choices. And if you have clarity, it will help you, keep the garb aside, focus on few things, and lead the way. And understanding, of course, will take care of the uncertainty because you know what is important, you know what to focus on, and thus the vision that you have with all of these three things will lead you to deal with VUCA continuously. Now, this is the task. I thought I will say that openly for our faculties here who are also there to kind of talk about or deliberate and discussion. A serious debate has to happen that in education, the way it is, because it is also pre-VUCA mostly. Now as they come talk, I think they will make changes. Some have already kind of started that journey. But creativity, discipline to work virtually, and intelligence are the three key skills that the education institutes can really develop their students and groom them before they are in the job market. Yeah. So that I really look forward from any and every educational institute. IIM Rohtak is not an exception. Otherwise, we are here. I mean, people will say that, my work could not happen because my machine was not working in VUCA world. Thank you so much. I open the floor for questions.
If any student has the question for ma'am, then he or she can raise his or her hand.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, your company is an insurance company. And
Yeah.
during Corona time, there was a lot of ruckus over insurance and all. So how, as a company, did you cope in that?
Ruckus about?
A lot of people were going to hospitals, a lot of
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
insurance companies. And all.
Yeah. In fact, one thing about which is I'm really proud of as an employee of ICSL Lombard is the human angle for customers. I think, first of all, the entire team of health, which is underwriters, my sales team, my operations team, which processes claims, people need money. People also need hospitals being available. So it really demonstrated that by being present 24/7 for our customers. Even today, teamwork, but even Corona time, it was even more. And the calls which we took, in fact, we ran in lesser profits, or we didn't think about that too much. We helped people, and claim settlement was swiftly done, and the amount of claims, in the sense the rupees or the claim size or claim value, we never looked at. So really proud to say that I think it was really tough because those employees were really burning out, and we had to take care. On the other hand, from inside for them, but for customers, I think they came up with gold standards. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So, some of the things that they started, I could say that people have rushed for finding hospitals because you know how the situation was, the oxygen, and even, let it be remdesivir or all other help. I think the kind of tie-ups that we did with pharmaceutical companies to make it available to our own patients, and of course even to employees. Employees, we opened a complete cell, but for customers it was at the same level or more than that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good question.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, how is business communication relevant in a VUCA world?
Business communication, I think, is very important. I would divide that into two types. One is internal communication. I think in VUCA world, as much as external communication with customers is important, internal communication with employees, I will say if it's 51% important, 49% is the customer communication. Because in customers, you cannot fully control everything, but employees are your own and they take care of your customers. So what we have is a document called Vishwas. And this Vishwas document is our guiding principles as to how should we behave with our customers, how should we behave, and what should we do with our employees is the second paragraph. Third paragraph is how should we behave, what are the do's and don'ts about our community, and last is the shareholder. It runs into 4 paragraphs, but what it does is beautifully stitches the entire company together. And it's a common communication to refer to and go for. And therefore, our values are aligned with the organization. So we keep communicating those values which take care of our customers by employees. The employees live in community and therefore community is to be taken care. And you take all these 3 things completely care of. Fourth one is shareholders realize their profits on its own. Is our strong belief. So this culture is heavily linked with your business communication, which is internal. Externally, we of course are present on Instagram, Facebook, and other things, and keep on sharing a lot of tips and value addition information, a lot of interaction. We do a lot of work with our regulatory authorities, and there is a lot of interaction with media about our senior leaders talking about various challenges, and we are very open about it. So it is very critical skills in the VUCA world. From the organization point of view, I'll look at both internal and external. Both the skills are very, very important. And understanding social patterns, of course, how media is or the social media is behaving, it's very important for us to keep an eye on.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My name is Riya Singh. So my question to you was about the great attrition that you mentioned in your speech. So we saw that during the time of COVID, HR grew as more than as a support function, but as a collaborative function in organizations.
Yeah.
So how did your organization manage this great attrition? And was there a great attrition? Did you see the trend in your organization or not?
So I'd just like to correct, I think collaboration from HR is always there. It's not that it was not there. It only intensified because the interdependence went up so much that I, as a manager, talking to a person who is deciding to leave was a given. But they required us also to talk and participate in it was very critical. And that happened through a very interesting thing called as early warning system, because huge attrition. We also faced than usual. But when we compared with the industry of general insurance or total insurance or even BFSI, we were much lower. So we're lucky to be there, but a lot of work we had to do. So early warning system which we introduced was about finding out the exit reasons and proactively identifying employees who are getting disengaged partially before they get fully disengaged. Because nobody leaves suddenly because there is notice period anyways, but otherwise also it's a disengagement process. And maybe earlier it was happening in 3 to 6 months, but in today's world, with the great resignation, it was happening maybe quickly in 15-20 days, one month's time. And that time period was not enough for me to react. And therefore, early warning system came on time, which we had anticipated. We automated it internally. And today line managers are using, so they know continuous, and they have huge teams. So 600 people, 500, 400, 300 is like our normal average number of team members. So they are now getting top 50, 100 names. People who were till last week were engaged, and from this week started getting disengaged. So that disengaged indications, the reasons proactively we started capturing, and through the live data that was fed back to the leaders as to who's getting disengaged slowly. And that has really worked wonders for me. So it showed initial success. We piloted it couple of verticals. In call centers, it reduced my attrition, which is like all-time low. In the call centers, 60-70% people attrition is normal. Today we are less than 30. That's all because of this. It's really worked well for us. Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Gaurang Najani. So, as in VUCA world, we constantly need to change.
Yes.
But parallelly, you are in an insurance business which is highly regulated by IRDAI.
Yeah.
So, how do you manage out innovation along with the increased regulation by the regulator?
Sure. So very simple answer is do it within the framework and nobody can stop you. Okay. But I'll tell you some of the more efforts which our company and organization is doing is continuous interaction with regulators. I think the amount of rapport and understanding and value add, because we don't operate as number one private sector insurance company only. We operate it as a responsibility that we have to establish general insurance and have it more penetrated to cover people's risk and give them the risk solution. So irrespective of for whom, because you do it, everyone else will get benefited. But we don't think like this. We think that we are pioneers and we have more responsibility. And therefore, what we keep doing is with IRDA, we have lots of projects which we have and many projects they have invited us to our MDs, some of our operations and technology heads, then legal heads. And I think IRDA also has been really, really wonderful in this to Government of India body to partner with us so that the entire industry, it is helping. And our stance from the time, 10, 15 years that we are actively operational as an organization, I think even IRDA has seen our intent, how frauds, because nobody wants frauds in financial companies, industry, and how we have taken actions, what kind of proactive measures we have taken, and taken a leadership position in some of those things to say, no, we will not do this. Even if we have profits here for long-term, losses for people, which are not just financial losses. These are values that we have. They are in Vishwas, and we follow that strictly. And that's why I think it's been working. We have to never think about whether we have to do something outside. No.
Thank you, ma'am.
So now, due to the time constraints, we will not be able to take more questions. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your insightful talk and valuable inputs. We all were delighted to have you here today and are definitely taking home a lot of your learning and experience. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much for inviting. And again, I, dicto the feeling of my previous speaker. Even I rediscovered a lot of things, a lot of exploration. And thanks to my colleague Dipanvita for helping me to put this together and making me go through a lot of reading and then putting it across with my experiences. It was wonderful talking to you. All the best to you for who are starting your new academic life, and see you soon in the corporate life after 2 years.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.